Good morning, YouTube. Today we're going to find out some more things that may or may not be wrong with the Project 355.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan. We are at Adam's Garage, and we're going to work on our Project 355 a little bit more today. What's gone on so far is that we had Josh from Exotic Power and Performance come check out and see what all was wrong with this car, and unfortunately it turned out that it's not as good as we had hoped. We thought we were going to be able to just do kind of a simple major, time belts, tensioners, oil change, fluids, all that stuff, maybe even a clutch. It's looking more like we have to rebuild the entire engine. So that's actually the current plan. Is we're going to pull out the engine and do not just a major, but we're going to strip it down all the way to the block, replace the piston rings, the valve guides, the bearings, all that stuff. So this is basically going to have a brand new engine when we're done with it. But we also need to figure out if there's anything else wrong with it, especially electronically, before we take it all apart. So Josh from Exotic Power Performance is coming back out. He should be here any minute. But before he gets here, real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to change the spark plugs and spark plug wires so that can be eliminated as a possible concern, because it was running pretty rough and some of those wires literally fell apart in our hands. So we think some of those wires were just done. Also, just a quick reminder, if you want to support us, please go visit normalguysupercar.com, and there you can buy parts and services for supercars. So we sell stuff for Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini, and Porsche. And we actually have some general parts that could be helpful for all of you, such as we've got some polishes and waxes and ceramic coatings. So go check out all those things in the garage section. If you don't have a supercar, we can still get you set up, and use the code NGS10. It's a knockoff 10%. Almost everything we have in the store. Also, just real quick, this entire video series of rebuilding this 355 and getting it running has been sponsored by Ricambi America, so go check them out. They sell Ferrari parts, OEM parts for Ferraris and Maseratis. They have been a long-time supporter of our channel, so we are grateful to them. They are awesome, and I bought a ton of stuff from them. So if you need any OEM Ferrari or Maserati parts, go check them out, ricambiamerica.com. Okay, so this is the major kit from Ricambi America. So this has a bunch of belts and gaskets and spark plugs and other stuff, fuel filters, all that stuff that we need for the major kit. And it's a really thorough kit, so actually I'm a big fan of that. If you need this kit, just go search for the 355 major kit. Ricambi America has a bunch of pre-packaged kits for things like majors and oil changes. I actually just ordered another oil change kit for my 458 last night. That part number is actually 458 OCK. But also, we just got some of the parts that we're going to need for this engine rebuild. So we have all sorts of goodies from Ricambi. You can see we have things like bearings and valve guides. We've got the head gaskets. We got all sorts of stuff in here. So yeah, this is going to get us going. All right, but like I said, here's the first thing that we're going to do. We have new spark plug wires. So the old spark plug wires were crap. We're going to replace those, and I'm also going to put in the new spark plugs, which come in the major kit. So we're going to get all of that in here just so that we can eliminate that as a possible reason for this to be not behaving correctly, because as we heard in the last video, this thing is not running well. It is incomplete combustion, so we're going to make sure that those are not the problem. Okay, got new spark plug wires in place, got rid of the old junk, and that should eliminate, oh, also put in the new spark plugs, so new plugs, new wires. That should eliminate any possibility of that being our concern with the incomplete combustion. So once Josh gets here, we'll start it up and do some tests and find out what else is wrong with this thing. Just in case you needed to order this, it is part number 355 wire. Yeah, and it comes with dielectric grease for those of you that are haters. Yeah, look at that. It actually comes with a packet of it. Oh, yeah. Oh. So while we're waiting for Josh, I actually wanted to teach you something for those of you that didn't know. We're going to go over why this is the F355 and not the 355. And some of them have Fs and some of them don't, okay? So here's the deal. On the 355, if it was a manual, it was the F355. If it was an F1, it was the 355 F1. Okay, so then what happened is a lot of people started saying, oh, well, I have the F1 system in my 360, so it's an F360. No, that's not true. There's no such thing as an F360. But then, just to really mess with you, Ferrari came out with the F430. And it's the F430 whether or not it's a manual or an F1. It's just the F430. There's no delineation in the name of it of whether or not it's the F430 with an F1 or F430 manual. But then to really mess with you, Ferrari then came out with the 430 Scuderia, and there's no F. So it's the 430 Scuderia. So you've got the F355 manual, the 355 F1 with the F1, the 360 Challenge Stradale, then the F430, and then the 430 Scuderia. And then
Scuderia was only an F1.
the Scuderia was only an F1. Yeah, so the F does not have anything to do with the F1 or not. So stop doing that, okay? Because people are like, hey, I've got an F360. No, you don't. You have a 360. Oh, I have a 430. No, you have an F430 unless you have a Scuderia. There you go. That's the proper name of these things. Another thing I want to point out real quick is I'm certain a lot of you have seen the footage of Hoovy's 355 burning to the ground. Because they did not do the fuel line recall. So yes, there was a recall, and it has to do with these fuel lines right there. So you can see these are set up. This has the recall done. You can see that they have been cinched down and are not in a position where they could rub against each other or rub against other things. So that's what would happen, is the fuel lines would get rubbed by the engine shifting around and stuff, and the rubbing on the fuel lines would eventually cause the fuel lines to rupture. And then, of course, it would leak fuel all over the place, which you can see the headers are kind of really close right there. So having fuel come out, yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort for fuel to get from there to there, and then for fire to go everywhere. Yay, look who's here. Josh is here. So Josh is going to actually install a fuel pressure gauge so he can check on that, because that obviously, if we don't have good fuel pressure with the fuel injected car, that obviously does bad things. Highly likely that we have bad fuel pumps on this car. So I guess there's a Schrader valve right there, and he just popped it out. Oh yeah, look at that. It is a Schrader valve.
So it's a good sign when you push it and it goes crunchy, 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 crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody didn't explain before I showed up last time that this car is sat for 2 years before
I
it
did
got
not know
here.
that. So the owner didn't tell me that it sat for since 2019.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So it's probably got bad fuel.
probably bad fuel, probably bad rubbers for the fuel pump, probably a bad fuel pump. Even though the plug wires and the plugs didn't look great, that wasn't necessarily our primary issue, because I think you had said the car was running-ish at one point when you received it.
Well, he drove it for a while and then it started crapping out on the way home.
Gotcha. All right.
So like when he pulled out of storage, it was driving okay for a while and then it went to shit.
Gotcha. So
So-
as long as you've had the car, it's run like crap.
Yeah. So,
But he said it ran good and then went to shit. That
Yeah.
wouldn't usually be spark plug wires as much.
so
Like
it says more of a fuel problem.
yeah, like it can be, right? A misfire starts at some point in time, but if it sat for 2 years and then he drove it, yeah, anyway, in the age of the car and with the ethanol fuel pumps are pretty common. Remember in Timmy's
Yeah,
348?
they were garbage.
Yep, and I'm doing a fuel pump in Jeff's 355 right now because
Yep.
it's suspect. So before we fire this thing up today, we already know it's got good plugs and wires in it now, so we eliminated that variable. Now we'll check fuel pressure while it's running, and that way we got kind of a double verification here. Because I didn't bring that
Nice.
the last time I was here, because I didn't realize that we were getting ready to service and rebuild the motor on a car that
Well, I don't think-
literally didn't run already.
Yeah, I don't think we realized how bad it was. We kind of thought it was a major, maybe plus or minus a little, not an engine rebuild.
Plus a lot.
Yeah, major plus everything.
Dan the eternal optimist.
Yeah, you know,
I do know.
I like to be an optimist,
You are. You are very optimistic.
which is funny because I'm a software guy.
I kind of have the same problem as a Ferrari mechanic, right? I always am confident that whatever I'm doing is going to be the solution that solves all the problems and the car is going to be perfect, and that's the end of mankind's woes. Because if I was realistic about how frustrating it is to sort these cars out, I probably wouldn't be so excited to show up to work every day.
True. I'm always way over real optimistic about like, oh, this will only take us 4 hours, and then 2 days later, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, these 4 problems we found are going to be the only thing we need to fix. It's not going to be an additional 4 problems after we sort out these 4 problems.
Right.
Yeah. And then a car ends up in the shop for 6 months
Yeah.
as you find 4 more problems and
Or a
4
year.
more problems, or a year,
I'm
or
very
2.
pessimistic.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
That's why I'm never disappointed, because I'm always disappointed.
You can't be disappointed if your default is disappointed.
And so I go, yeah, no, it won't be that bad. It won't cost that much money. And then you get the car into the shop. And this is why I try to be really hard, like a data-driven, facility. Because then here's all the numbers and all the things that are bad. And now it's not like emotions and opinions and feelings. It's mathematics.
Well, that's why the compression test was so helpful here, because it was just the numbers don't lie.
You know how many times a car's pulled into my shop like, oh, the car runs fine, it runs good, it just, has this one thing, where it like shuts off every Tuesday at 3 p.m., when the sun is at, I don't know, whatever, 30 degrees in the sky, slightly northwest. It's like, okay. And then you start digging in and you find out that it does that because there's 14 things wrong with the car, and they finally accumulated to a level where the engine can't overcome anymore, and so it just shuts itself off. So that's why you got to be really careful with no, I think it runs good. It either does or it doesn't. Lambda will tell you, compression leak down will tell you, chassis dyno will tell you, seat of the pants doesn't mean shit. Most people don't know the difference between 50 horsepower by the seat of their pants.
The other problem
especially when it's a slow degradation of a car slowly going to shit.
When
we flash tune a car and you instantly get 30 horsepower like 2 hours later, you can notice that. Over the course of 4 or 5 years, losing 30 horsepower, you don't realize.
Well, this owner's owned it for like
10?
14, I think.
14?
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would not notice the difference.
No, why would you?
Yeah, especially if you're not driving it that much.
Exactly. The one time month you might get to drive it, and most of the time you're not going to be flat on the carpet through every gear. You know what I mean? Like you're not.
Yep.
Your calibration's off. My calibration's off.
Yep.
I work on everything from a 458 to a 250. A 1960s 250 Ferrari. My seat of the pants gauge is a bit skewed. How do you maintain reference from cars anywhere from 700 or 800 horsepower down to 220?
I think the sky just fell on us. Damn it, that's really loud.
It probably won't last long.
Hopefully not. Well, hopefully you guys can still hear us over the rain. That's pretty loud. All right, we're gonna fire it up and see how our fuel pressure is and see if it runs any better with the new plugs and wires. Whoa, stop. Yikes.
Well, we got some fuel pressure.
Well, we definitely have fuel pressure and don't need a burned up Ferrari.
No, that would be a bad day. I guess I gotta see if I can get that to tighten a little bit more.
Yeah, just gonna rinse off some of the fuel so we don't have a hoovy, especially on the headers.
Yep, that should be good enough.
So you could just turn key forward so the pumps turn on, right? Oh no.
It doesn't pre-prime. You gotta be cranking the motor.
Oh,
I also forgot to plug the coils back in.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. We got instant fuel pressure there.
Yeah, good fuel pressure. It's at 55.
Yeah, that seems about right. The general rule of thumb is returnless systems are about 58 pounds of pressure and return fuel systems are 43 and a half. Thought this should be like 43 and a half because it is a return system. So we'll see what it does. All right, go ahead.
Whoa. It did start much better.
That's unusual.
What's fluctuating?
Yeah, that should be a bit more steady.
It does sound like it's running with less misfire, or less incomplete combustion.
Yeah, the revs are way low though. Something's still off. Ooh. We got all the fault codes.
Is that the clutch?
The gearbox.
Oh, okay.
It's because it's revving so low. All right, well, we've got a suspension light, we've got an airbag light, we've got a slowdown light, and we have a check engine light.
Oh, those all came nice. Hooray, that didn't take long.
Hooray for beer. I guess now we gotta get the Computore out and see if we can see why it thinks it's upset.
So what is this, Josh?
This is an original OG Ferrari SD1 tester.
From like 1992?
Pretty much, yep. The original tester was just called Ferrari Tester, It's a handheld unit that took cartridges in it. That came out in the late 80s for F40 and 348 and 512 TR. And then, yeah, about 92 or so, they replaced the handheld with SD1. So this covers 348, Mondial T, 512 TR, all the way up to 99, 2000, so 550, 456, and 355s. So you have a Ferrari tester, you have SD1, then you have the SD2, which was 360, 575, and
430.
Enzo.
Wasn't it 430?
SD3
Oh,
covers 430, 599, 612.
okay.
And then they replaced that one with the DEIS, Diagnostic Easy Information System, which is 458, F12 California and onwards.
And they still use that today?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is each new system is supposed to also kind of replace the previous system. But as I'm sure you know better than I do, every time you change software, you can't capture every bit of the original software, right?
Yeah.
So
There's going to be some reverse incompatibility.
exactly. So like an SD2 covers SD1 and SD2. So SD2 is kind of, considered like the mother of most diagnostic tools because it covers all the way from 348 and 512
Yeah.
through 360 and 575. But the problem with that is you lost a couple of functions of the SD1. Like you gained some stuff and it works a little bit better, but you lost some stuff too on the early 355s and whatnot. So just like this software has 512 TR ABS, but it does not have 348 ABS. The handheld cartridge that originally came out with the F40 and the 348 in the late 80s, that has 348 ABS. So every time they change the generation, there's a little bit of loss in
So
translation.
if you really want to do everything, you need everything.
Yeah,
They're making it really easy for you.
super easy. That's why, like at my shop, I'm kind of particular. Like with Richards 458, when we had the software issue where he
Yep.
shunted the thing trying with the test
Yeah.
flight trying to do his radar system. I don't have equipment to reprogram 458 computers. That would
Yeah.
be a DEIS, which is going to be a $30,000 computer. And how often am I going to get the bill out time to reprogram a computer in a
It'd take you
458?
15 years to pay it off.
Exactly, it's not worth it.
No.
So, we kind of pick and choose. So I use aftermarket software that does 80% coverage, and the 20% I can't do, I just accept because the cost to cover that, it would take a lifetime to make that
Your
money back.
Texa does most of what you need.
Yeah, I run the whole shop on that software, and there's very few things it won't do. So one of the reasons why I wanted the SD1 is because one of the things that Texa cannot do is F1 gearbox and 355s.
Oh.
And as you know, I picked up a 355 project,
Yep.
and it's got F1 gearbox in
Yep.
it. I've got Jeff's 355 in the shop right now. It's got an F1 gearbox. If we had to do some work on that, read codes, do anything, Texa can't do that. So then on the other side of it, like Leonardo is a
Yep.
good tool. I really like the Leonardo tablet, but it misses some functions. And that tool is developed by guys that were original staff at Digitech, the guys who made the original tools, left in their Assini Leonardo tools. And even that software is missing a couple functions, such as it doesn't have 355 air conditioning access, which the SD1 does. You got to kind of pick and choose.
It's almost like you need all of everything for everything, but I mean, that's so cost prohibitive.
It is. The dealerships don't get a choice, right? The
They have
factory,
to buy them.
Yep. The factory stuffs it down their throat. For me, I got to pick and choose based on what I'm working on the most and how badly I need it. Right now, for example, I haven't worked on a 355 in a couple of years, other than some basic stuff. And right now, we got 4 of them in process.
Well, anyone with a 90s Ferrari that needs stuff.
Yeah. So
That's gonna be
basically,
helpful.
with the SD1, the Bible, and the breakout boxes, you got pretty factory level
You've got
support.
probably like 98% of everything.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
MS-DOS based, old ass laptop. The screen doesn't read real easily. I forgot to bring my extension cable for the RS-232, so this is not going to be the most elegant process here, but we should be able to hook up and communicate with it. And
Ooh, this is gonna be
see.
exciting. I can't wait to see an old DOS computer. I haven't
Let's
seen
see.
one of these in like 20 years.
I'd say, when was the last time you played with a DOS computer?
I don't know, do some sophisticated shit right here. This is, oh really, this is your first time using this one?
Yeah, I just got it earlier this week. It just arrived. And I booted it up just to make sure the laptop would boot up.
Woo, look at that. It's not really showing up on the screen, but yeah, it's actually powering on. It says Ferrari. Oh yeah, there it is, super faint. Woo, high tech. Well, sadly, we're having some difficulty getting the SD1 working, so no SD1 playing today. We'll have to figure that out another day. We're not entirely sure we have all the right connections. So again, this kind of came from Bahrain, so.
Yeah, and the guy I bought it from, he's not a Ferrari specialist or anything like that. He just kind of came across an opportunity to buy some stuff and add it to his collection and whatnot. I know he booted the computer up, and we know the computer boots up and runs, but I know he didn't plug it into a Ferrari and try it on a Ferrari. All right, fault codes. Water temperature.
We got that one last time. Actually, a lot of them look like the same.
Single signal not valid.
We got the battery voltage over. Does that suggest the alternator is not regulating properly?
We can check it. Either that or it didn't clear out the fault memory very good last time. Callus protection on the left side. So now we'll fire it up again. So all the faults cleared. We've got no check engine light. Really doesn't want to communicate for parameters very well. 1200C on the right cat, 290C on the left cat. So one cat's a lot cooler than the other. Or no, all right. That was, so you see that, how it spiked to 1192 and now we're at 294, which is about the same. So we definitely have a funky reading going on with the right side cat.
Sensor might be,
It's usually the box.
oh, the cat,
Cat temp ECU.
Cat ECU.
Yeah. No injection timing on the left bank. That's weird. 12.9 volts on the battery according to the ECU. Similar lambdas. A little lean on that left side. Bring the revs up. Just let me know if those numbers change.
Okay.
The air delivery. See how it's just went from 33.8 to 1. So this is the calculation through the mass airflow sensor.
Yeah.
Right? This is, it measures and the computer does a calculation on how much air is being pulled.
Right.
Right? So the range should be 42 to 55.
And we're only at 34.
Yeah, which makes sense because we're idling at
Really
600 RPM or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that part makes sense. So if I bring it up to 1,000 RPM, that should come up to about 42, you know, or whatever, 45. But you notice how it drops out and only reads 1 kilogram an hour yeah, there you go, 700 RPM.
700, yeah.
We've got good fuel pressure, and it's obviously not, you know, all over the place like it was, you know, it's not all lumping or erratic.
It's definitely running better.
Yeah, it's just steadily shit right now.
Steadily shit.
That's a step up from wild card shit.
Yeah, yeah.
The old school ghetto trick on these earlier cars is you just kind of start unplugging some stuff. Like remember last time I just unplugged the mass airflow sensor?
Yeah, it died.
Yeah, and it died. So that means the mass airflow, I mean, generally speaking, that means the mass airflow sensor was doing something, not nothing. And we see it has a reading. It's a little erratic, but
it's there.
it's there.
So what are you unplugging?
That's the idle speed,
Oh, okay.
idle air valve.
Okay.
Now it really
Definitely sounds worse.
Yep. So we know the idle air valve is trying to work.
Oh, yeah.
And then last time when I pulled this off, the motor shut off.
Yeah. Oh.
But that's probably because we had bad wires and a misfire.
Yeah.
So now I just unplugged it and it hiccuped because the computer lost the signal.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
but it went back to the default map.
well,
Yeah.
now it's trying to run at 900 RPM instead of 700. So it's
Interesting.
closer to where it's supposed to be than it was.
Without the math.
Yep.
Weird.
So if we come over here and look at it, you know, obviously we have some software lag that's giving us a problem here. The computer's communicating super slowly. That's right in spec for injection timing.
Right on
That's-
spec.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. That's right in where it should be too.
Yep. So now we've got the correct idle RPM. We've got about the correct injection timing. We've got the correct, because it's gone to a default, you know, calculation now based on RPM and throttle position.
Wow. So does that mean our math is bad?
Yeah, this would be the DIY way of diagnosing that. Would be if you unplug it and it runs better, right? Because we unplugged the
The idle air controller went worse.
yep, and the coolant temp sensor's working because we're at 92C. Oh, see that?
Yeah.
We just went negative on the engine temperature.
Whoa.
So that probably explains why we.
So that's not good.
That's probably why we're getting a fault for the temp sensor.
So we probably got a bad temp sensor.
Could just be bad connections. You know, the car sat around for a bunch and it's older. It might be a bunch of dirty connections. Now we're at 142.5 C, and now it went back to 91.5.
Yeah.
This is the ghetto DIY way of diag on early cars, or early EFI. It's like that. If you unplug the sensor and it runs better, the sensor's probably your problem. If you unplug it and it doesn't do anything, it's probably a bad sensor. Like you saw with the idle control valve, we unplugged that and we lost a couple hundred RPM, plugged it back in, the RPM came back. And we know the other sensors are decent because we did the pin out last week.
Yeah.
So we know most everything's pretty okay. The only test for the mass airflow sensor is with an oscilloscope, which I did bring, but this is a pretty easy DIY.
It's pretty
test.
conclusive.
Even on a late model like a 360 or a 430 with dual maps, if you're getting fault codes for
Yeah.
like lean or rich on one side and it's doing weird stuff, you can swap the maps left to right, clear the faults.
Yeah, should follow.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's one problem with this one. We only have one, so we can't really do that trick.
This would be a candidate for the gold-plated terminal service on the wiring harness because the age, and we're seeing some flaky readings between like the coolant temp sensor and the mass airflow sensor. You know, we got a few flaky things going on. The gold terminal kit's mostly for engine management, but like we've got the funky EGT reading, we've got a math problem, we've got a coolant temp sensor reading that's all over the place. So we got a few things. And again, with the age of the car, this is a car I'd probably sell the gold-plated engine harness terminal upgrade on.
Is that
because
expensive?
I don't know, how much do you consider expensive for that?
Well, I don't know. Hundreds or thousands?
Thousands. I want to say the kit was like $1,200 or something.
Okay.
And then, you know, the time to do it all.
I read something about like there's a plastic gear in the sensors, and that's what goes bad. Like
For the actuators, yeah, that's what I was checking when I was here last,
So-
because we saw the suspension light was on.
yeah.
There's a plastic gear inside here, and then you've got a metal gear here.
Oh, and it's there.
Yep.
So that's not it.
Yep. Or at least not on the two rears. We haven't checked the fronts because
Oh.
you got to rip the front end of the trunk apart to get to the front shocks. That's at least not the problem on the two rear shocks.
Okay.
And it looks like the check valve in the fuel pump isn't really doing a great job. It bled right down to 15 pounds like instantly. So
Yeah.
it's not holding a lot of pressure.
Bad check valve, probably
Yeah.
a bad MAF, probably
Yeah.
a bad water temperature sender.
Yeah,
possibly a messed
or
up.
connections,
Or
you know, because it
connections.
is under the motor down there, so it does get hammered on a bit.
Well, we're going to be starting to take it apart anyway in the next
saying,
couple of days.
Might as
so-
well leave it out, unless there's a reason we need to run it again.
No, I mean, at that point, I would maybe just get a MAF, because like I said, you know, it might be nice to make sure this thing is like idling and running like a normal engine before we tear it out, so we're not doing diag on a freshly built motor.
Okay.
So now we got rid of the misfires, so that's good. We're
Yeah.
not going to be like damaging the fresh cylinders, but it'd be nice to make sure that the fuel mixture is correct too. So again, we're not trying to run a fresh motor overly lean and running a motor for an hour or two while we're testing electronic. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. There's something about beating on a fresh motor
Yeah.
that this is expensive and I'm not warrantying it.
So you think we should get a MAF before we tear it apart?
I would, yeah, I would. I'd like to see if a new MAF makes it idle and run like like it's supposed to. Even if it's not 100%, as long as it's 90%, so it's idling at 1,000 RPM, you know, like it was with it disconnected, then we know, you know, yeah, maybe we got to do some more work while we're in there, but
Okay.
we're not going to be chasing our tails. By the time the motor's all built and in, we're not going to want to be dicking around with stupid stuff. We're going to want to wrap it up as quickly as possible.
True.
But the good thing is now with all the wires and plugs changed, we did see that if we just unplugged the MAF, the car idled and ran
Actually
fine.
pretty decent.
Yeah, so, you know.
Considering the compression issues, it's not
Yeah.
bad.
Well, that's why I say, yeah, you know, you got to do all the testing and whatnot. You can't just say, oh, well, it runs pretty good. I don't think there's any problems, because these things will seem to run pretty good, missing 30, 40 horsepower and, you know, with a couple of cylinders on low compression.
Well, we think that's about all we can do today. So we ordered a new mass airflow sensor. We're going to get that in and put that in before we take out the engine, because again, like Josh was saying, we kind of want to make sure that everything runs properly as it's going to run given the current status of the engine. So we got that order. It should be here very, very soon. We'll put that in and then show you that. Or if it works, it works. And then we're probably just going to move on to pull out the engine. So we'll just update you guys when that happens. As it sits, the plan is probably next week sometime we will start pulling out this engine and taking it apart, and then we'll do the major and rebuild, and it should be kind of fun. You guys should go check out Normal Guy Supercar if you have any sort of parts or services for supercars. Even if you don't, we sell some non-supercar stuff, so go check out the garage section. Also, if you want to use Josh for help, go visit his website, exotic-power.com. And finally, a huge thanks to our sponsor of this whole series, Ricambia America. So go check out ricambiaamerica.com. They have been hooking me up with Ferrari parts for years, so I am a big fan of them. They're my favorite parts supplier for OEM Ferrari parts. So again, ricambiaamerica.com. Thank you so much for helping us out by visiting all of our sponsors and all these things and our website. That keeps us going, so we appreciate it very much. You guys are amazing. We're going to be doing a lot of car stuff, including obviously working on this, along with my 458 and some other stuff, including my boat and the 599. You guys are going to stay tuned. Yeah, I'm going to let him say it. All right, we'll see you.